What is the craziest excuse someone has given you that ended up being true? A student emailed me and said he missed the midterm because his car blew up. He sent a picture of him with the burnt car and police in the background and he looked just *SO* defeated. The email went something like this. Dear Professor Pomegranate Fresh, I'm sorry for missing the midterm, and the is going to sound like an excuse. See attached photos, but my car blew up. I'd really love a chance to rewrite the midterm. If not, well, sorry again. I had bigger fish to fry. I'll let him rewrite the midterm lol. I dated a guy for a few months in college. Towards the beginning of the relationship we planned to go out, and he didn't show up. No phone call, no answered texts, nothing. But I began to accept I had been stood up and would never hear from him again. A couple days later I get a text. I'm so sorry I just came out of a coma. Can I come over tomorrow? I thought it was bullshit, but I wanted to humor it. He shows up to my house with crutches and his discharge papers. He was definitely in a coma. He was in an awful accident on the way to my house that left his car totaled and broken bones and in a coma for a couple days. To this day, when friends tell me their dates ghosted them I think, maybe he's in a coma? Asking someone I knew to go to the bar and hearing I got stabbed turned out to be true. He sent me the video footage from the bar he was stabbed at. Over a game of pool arguing over the rules. The guy waited in bushes until bar close and stabbed him in the back. Cops did get the guy and the victim was okay after the hospital. Not me but my dad. When he was dating my mom once he was 3 hours late to pick her up on her house. She was furious until he said I know I'm late, but I have a great excuse. I delivered a baby. Turns out dad was exiting the metro station when he heard a commotion and someone yelling for a doctor. Apparently a woman was giving birth right there. He decided to step in. He was an intern at the time I believe. Mother and baby were fine and were carried on an ambulance to the hospital and dad decided it was the kind of story you tell face to face. I almost forgot this story. I had a boss who got stuck on a construction site he was managing. Everyone had gone home for the weekend and he was doing a walk around when a door shut on him, trapping him in the bathroom. This was before cell phones and no one knew he was there. He looked around, the sink worked and the toilet worked, so he wasn't gonna die of thirst. He had 2 quarters in pocket. He tried popping the door with 1 quarter and it fell out the other side. He managed to get the other quarter just right and was free. When he got home he told his wife to check on him if he wasn't home by 7 on a Friday. He never checked a job site by his lonesome ever again. I liked him. Very down to earth man. I had the same thing happen to me, my dad, and a friend of his, when I was a kid. My dad was looking for a space to rent to start a shop. The back room automatically locked when the door closed I guess. There were no windows, no other doors. We were completely trapped. This was like 1995, so no phones. We were in there for about an hour, and I was just laying on the floor playing like a kid does, when I noticed a weird part of a wall under a long workbench connected to the wall. I went to investigate, and sure as shit, it was a piece of carpet covering a fucking secret hatch to get back into the main room. It was just big enough for me to crawl through, so I got to go around and save the day. My dad passed on the rental. A coworker of mine said he couldn't come into work because the police wouldn't let him. Everyone at work called bullshit, and then he sent us a picture from his window of a SWAT sniper using his car to monitor another building in his complex. Apparently there was a hostage situation. Everyone ended up being safe. I'm a high school teacher. 10 years ago I had a student say he didn't do the homework because his car caught fire on his ride home and his textbook was in the back seat. I was suspicious, but he quickly produced the badly charred textbook, which was also completely waterlogged from when the fire department put out the fire, and asked me if I could issue him a new one. It's possible that he burned and soaked his textbook in an effort to getting out of doing the homework. If that was the case, bravo. An employee missed a few days at work because he had been arrested and jailed. Told me it was a mistake and he was innocent. Turned out he was right. It's actually more common than you'd think for people to get arrested by mistake because they have the same name as a suspect. I actually was arrested earlier this year and taken in for a larceny warrant that had been out on me for like 18 months. I had no idea what was going on. When watching the video with my lawyer and checking my personal records, a real story became obvious. It was a mistake and charges were immediately dismissed. But man, what a bad feeling when it was unfolding. Moved into a new place. Landlord is very nice, lives in the house. Her son also lives there. A few weeks after moving in, he knocks on my door, accuses me of spying on him, quickly takes it back once he sees my genuine confusion, says he is panicked because recordings of private moments, seemingly made in his own apartment, have surfaced at his place of work. No blackmail attached, seemingly just to make fun of him. The way he behaved, the super harsh and quick accusation, the immediate backpedaling, screamed I haven't taken my meds. And I don't mean in the derogatory weird people must be mentally ill. I go to therapy myself, and I know people who have had mental breaking points where they did that exact kind of thing if they didn't take their meds. So I was very friendly and understanding, and a few days later he tells me he found out who it is. Neighbors from the other side of the street, feeding me some obviously shaky story about them hacking his internet that didn't make much sense to me. This smelled like I have now resumed taking my meds and have realized I behaved irrationally, but I can't tell you that. So here's an attempt to defuse the situation. Turns out, no, he was totally right. He is currently suing them, got into the newspaper with it, and it's looking pretty likely he'll win. They have done this to more people, just for fun. He just isn't particularly tech savvy, so the bullshit explanation was him being generally right but not understanding anything about it. A guy we worked with didn't turn up one day. We tried calling him and no answer. After a few days, me and a coworker went to his house. No answer at the door. His car wasn't in his driveway. After a couple of weeks we figure he has taken off somewhere, and the boss put through his termination papers for not showing up. About a month after that, the guy rocks up on a Monday morning in uniform ready to work. Turns out he had been in a car accident and was in a coma for weeks. He had no immediate family and no way to let us know. He ended up getting his job back. I'm imagining him waking up from his coma and thinking, well, better get ready for work. My friend came to class back in high school with a ripped uniform shirt and told us the Lions got it. As it turns out, his mum was a vet for a zoo and had 2 cubs in her backyard. They saw his shirt flapping on the line and did what cats do, shredded it. My neighbor's house blew up and the cops won't let anyone leave. Was an active meth lab and he couldn't smell squat, apparently. Was playing an online game and had a party member say fuck gotta go, quake. Fortunately they were unhurt because it was the horrendous Christchurch earthquake that I killed dozens. This makes me think of the time I was in Iraq in 2006 and on the phone with my mom. We started getting mortared and I just said, shit, I gotta go. We are getting mortared, and hung up so I could go to the nearest bunker. If you've ever been deployed, you know that sporadic mortar fire at a fob or cop is usually of minimal risk. It's 3 to 6 or so small rounds, not really aimed that well, or fired out of improvised mortar tubes or even from a moving vehicle, and often aimed at aircraft, fuel, generators, etc. rather than with the intent of killing people. In hindsight, still probably not the best way to end a conversation with a mother who's terrified for her son's safety in a war zone. She wasn't very happy with me